it's written in the script. Oh. The quorum is by the voting online. Yeah. So, Peg, Joellen isn't here yet. Would you? All right, let us begin. Thank you all for staying here after that beautiful flower service. I've got my flower here that my friend Esme gave me. So it'll be my reminder that we aren't perfect and we embrace ourselves with every flaw that we have. So let's begin our 2023 Spring Congregational meeting with a welcome to everyone here in the sanctuary and to those joining us on YouTube, watching, or those watching sometime in the future. We begin by inviting the energy and wisdom of the many leaders of this faith community who've gone before us. Let us also acknowledge this land and the peoples that have called this place home for thousands of years. The Oto Missouria, the Omaha, Ponca, Kansa, and Pawnee have lived here at one time. Many others have visited in order to collect salt at the local salt basin. Nisquite, by which this area continues to be known, is the Omaha word for salt water. We thank them all for their good care of this sacred ground. Indigenous peoples of many nations make their home in Lincoln today. We value their contribution of our community's vitality and diversity. These are not idle words. Our commitment is to action. We pledge to show up in support of local and national policies, programs, and measures that demand redress for lands taken, that offer justice for harm committed, and that seeks to promote self-determination and equity for all peoples. We have lots of business to do together today. We'll be hearing highlights from the longer reports that can be found on the governance page of our website. For those of you who prefer a printed copy of the annual report, we have a couple of hard copies printed up here, and we'll make more as needed. So if you want one, you can pick one up at the end of the service. There will be time for questions as we proceed. So let's begin. So there's a difference. The opening words are going to be read by Peg Pelcher.
And I'm reading them cold, so a little bit of grace. In Our Circle Again by Sherry Woodbury. A large number of people are in silhouette against the blaze of a bonfire. Here we are in our circle again, a circle of vision and reflection, a forum for deciding and empowering. Here we are at the base of another bridge, another space spanning the shores of today and tomorrow, beckoning us to cross the chasm one day at a time. Here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future, at the boundary that holds community together. Here we are here in a circle of trust and love, brought to this moment by a series of choices and promises, by hope and by gratitude, by our own shadows, faced and befriended. With a servant's heart and a leader's listening and a parent's love, truer than all of our inner trembling, let us model the health we seek for all and lean into community. Somewhere out there, all we dream is possible. Somewhere in here, we are sowing the seeds.
We're going to start today by singing together, and I've been asked to introduce myself, and so I'm Julie Anderson. I'm the choir director here. I have been on and off since 2005. I joined the church in 1989, though, so been around a while. And Bill Carpenter's helping us up. Sounds good. We're going to sing When the Spirit Says Do. We're going to start with sing, and then I'll yell some words at you, and you'll see. Here we go. You know this one. You want to rise in body and spirit, just... You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Ready? Sing when the Spirit says sing. You've gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Spirit says. You gotta meet. You gotta meet when the Spirit says meet. You gotta meet when the Spirit says meet. When the Spirit says meet, you've gotta meet, oh Lord. You gotta meet when the Spirit says meet. 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 Spirit says. You gotta choose. You've gotta choose when the Spirit says choose. You've gotta choose when the Spirit says choose. When the Spirit says choose, you've gotta choose, oh Lord. You've gotta choose when the Spirit says choose. 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 Spirit. Then you gotta vote for what you've chosen. You've gotta vote when the Spirit says vote. You've gotta vote when the Spirit says vote. When the Spirit says vote, you've gotta vote, oh Lord. You've gotta vote when the Spirit says vote. Cut it up on the big ending. Here we go. Spirit says vote. 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 There you go. Right?
Thank you so much, Julie. All right. I'm Kim Zeman, Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Our Chalice Lighting words are from Emily Richards. We gather this day in a sacred space, kindling a fire that burns here in our chalice and in our hearts. We gather to engage in a different kind of worship, one that doesn't include sermons or hymns, but is holy nonetheless. We gather to honor our covenant and engage in congregational life, doing the necessary work to ensure that this community thrives. We gather together as a people of faith, guided by love, a love that burns as bright as the flame in our chalice. We light this chalice, as we have done so many times before, for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Hi, I'm Meg Mehring, and I am the secretary of the board. And the minutes will be approved virtually, but are there any suggestions for corrections or change of any sort? Thank you.
If you haven't had a chance to look at those minutes, they're actually on the governance page of our website. So if anything comes up when you're reading, we put many eyes on them before we published them. So hopefully we got all of the changes that needed to be made. Mandy couldn't be with us this morning, so she sent in her report via video. And there are some hard copies of the treasurer's report floating around the room. If you need one and don't have one, can you go look with somebody who has one? And Jean has more back there in the back. So Kurt needs one. Do you need one, Kurt? Oh, you're good. Oh, you have a correction. Will you let Meg know after the service? Okay, so Meg, Kurt has a correction to the minutes. So, yes.
I have a question about the treasurer's report. I have grown a little concerned over years at how little we learn about the minister's discretionary fund.
Let's get this on. Testing, test.
Yeah, I have become concerned about how little we learn about the minister's discretionary fund. I think I heard the sum of $20,000 a year mentioned last year. That's a lot of money to know nothing about. For instance, is the fund still operating in Oscar's absence? What's the balance? Who's in control? And is there ever any kind of review by people who don't have authority over the money?
Good questions. Alan, can you respond to that, Jean? Excuse me.
Thank you so much for bringing that to us, Alan. I will commit to putting it into the newsletter at least once a year, just a overall review. The 20,000 was considerably higher during the pandemic that year, so it's not generally that high in one year. But yes, I will take everything you just said to heart, and we will have a discussion about the review. I think at this point it's reviewed by the treasurers and the people who have financial oversight, which is the board. But if we can talk in private and see if you think that there needs to be something beyond that, we'll take it into consideration.
Yeah, thanks, Jean. Any other questions before we have Mandy's video report? Okay. Heather.
Hi, this is Mandy Bonnie Herman, Interim Treasurer of the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you today because of illness. Thankfully, we have these options available so I can still present a report to you. I'm coming to the end of my term as Interim Treasurer, and Jason Slaughter will be taking over pretty soon. He'll be taking over for his terms. I've learned a lot over the past year, and it's been a great experience, but Jason is ready to step up and take on the role. So talking a little bit about where we're sitting now, the checkbook's looking pretty strong right now. We're sitting pretty good. On the income side of things, about 35% of the year, we're about 44% of budget income-wise. Now, why is that? There is a very specific reason for that, and there's a certain income category called supplemental income, and that includes the annual budgeted transfer from the general reserves. So that's just a normal thing that happens. It's 5% of the total annual budget, about $25,000. As the year continues, that'll just kind of spread out across the months and look normal. But right now that category looks a little bit elevated, and that's why it's just that annual transfer. On the opposite side, on the expenses, we're about 37% of budget, which is pretty even keel, pretty good. There's one category in particular. Again, there's always got to be one. It's the extension category that looks elevated. It's sitting at about 85% right now. And that is primarily due to the UUA dues, which are due at the beginning of every calendar year, and that's $27,460. So now that that's taken care of, that's a one-time thing every year. It's expected. It's nothing out of the ordinary, so we don't have to worry about it. The extension category, as the year progresses, should level out. Now, we have talked about, we have had some expenses this year. There was a portion of the general reserves notated in the supplemental income category of the budget as well. And that was used to replace an old water heater with a new electric tankless water heater. That came to about $6,279.99. That is something that was taken out. Another thing that we have to talk about that there's been a lot of discussion regarding it, and after much discussion, the Unitarian Church of Lincoln Board of Trustees determined that a new heat source was needed to replace the 30-year-old gas furnaces which cover the gallery and sanctuary. This will happen in multiple phases, and so far it doesn't show up in the financials yet just because of how it has to be managed. The funds are coming from Luff, and I'm sure they will explain a little bit more about that. But the initial amount of $31,200 has been transferred to the church's account for the down payment, and then the rest will be transferred after the project is complete. So that's the biggest things that have happened this year. As always, if you ever have any questions about the treasurer report, you want to see it, just let us know. I'll be here for a while. Otherwise, after that, Jason will be available, and we'll always have that information for you if you need it. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Does anyone have any questions about that? It's going to take a village if you do. So, yeah.
Report? Yeah. I guess to clarify your terminology, for expenses related to the hot water heater that she just spoke of, there is an emergency fund of money for that sort of thing, which should have been where that money came from, and maybe it did, and it's just supplemental income as a blanket category, but I thought they had a pot of money exactly for that sort of purpose, for covering the hot water heater.
That is correct. It is incorrect in the report. It came out of the budget standing reserve line, which is governed by the board.
Also, the electrification that was needed to plug in that new water heater came out of that account also.
And I might clarify, it's better than just an electrical hot water heater. It is a heat pump hot water heater, so it's much more efficient and fits into our, yeah, it's not tankless. It has that was determined that our power panel supply was not going to be able to handle a tankless for the electrical current, but so it had a new wiring and new such that went to it, but Kurt really spearheaded that and babysat the plumber too, so thanks, Kurt.
Thanks for babysitting the plumber, Kurt. There's only one other gas device in our building now. Is that correct? And yeah, furnaces are until they're replaced, but we only have one other. It's the fireplace, which I think there's a conversation going on about how to make us a whole electric building instead of a gas building. So anything else about that before we move on to the voting instructions? All right, thank you.
So I'm going to tell you how to vote. I've been working on that line, but anyway. My name is Peg Pelter, and I'm finishing the first. My name is Peg Pelter, and I'm finishing the first year term, or first year of being on the board. And I can honestly say it's been a real worthwhile experience. I've learned a lot, and it's been a lot more fun than I would have expected. But anyway, so how voting will work. Members will vote to approval on the 2022 winter congregational meeting notes, 3 board of trustees position, 1 new program council chair, adoption of the 8th principle, amendment to the articles of incorporation, and 10 Share the Plate recipients for the upcoming church year. Voting will be done by virtual ballot through a Google form linked to the governance page of the website. You should have all received the all church email this morning. I checked my phone and it was there. The virtual ballot is live now, and you will have 48 hours to vote. Voting ends at 11:15 on Tuesday, May 23rd. To be a voting member at the spring congregational meeting, you must meet the following criteria. Signed the membership book more than 1 month ago and have made a pledge to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln for 2023. If you prefer a paper ballot, or if you are unsure if you are a member in good standing, please contact the church office staff and they will assist you. Please vote. Our quorum will be counted by the number of votes received. Our bylaws state that 20% of the membership shall constitute a quorum for congregational meetings. 20% of our 254 members means a quorum of 51 people. So we need 51 voters or more. Let's get more. A simple majority of those voting is needed to adopt the 8th principle. We need 2/3 of those voting, at least 34 yes votes, to amend the Articles of Incorporation for us to get our 501c3 nonprofit designation letter. And Share the Plate community partners for the upcoming year are the top 10 vote getters. So, vote for 10. And now, does anybody have any questions? Pretty simple. We did this last time around, so. Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Bert Smith, lame duck member of the.
Or raise them.
I'm an outgoing member of the Board of Trustees, lame duck, I guess you call it.
And I'm Elle Stratman, Board of Trustees Marathoner.
We're here to announce the names of this year's Program Council Chair and the new board members.
The Program Council Chair will preside over the Program Council for the next 3 years.
The new board members, there's 3 of them, and they will serve 3-year terms each.
Let's see. We'd like to give a big thank you to those fine folks who have served and finished up their terms.
First, we would like to thank our favorite Karen, or maybe he's not the favorite, but everybody's got their favorite. Karen Hafer, who did an outstanding job as the Program Council Chair.
Our next thank you goes out to Judy Hart, who is finishing her term as the board president.
And we want to send a special thank you to Melody Vaquero. She filled in for the last year of Tanya Hay's term, and both Tanya and Melody did a really good job. Appreciate it.
And last, but definitely not least, we give
Sure
a big
about
thank
that.
you to Bert Smith. Let us give these folks a round of applause.
Can we have the envelope, please? Moment we've all been waiting for.
Bert, our nominee for the Program Council Chair is Marcia Cedardahl. Marcia has served as a cluster leader and also one of our team leaders for Justice in Action. Thank you, Marcia.
Okay, our first nominee for the Board of Trustees is Mary Kay Stillwell. Mary Kay shows up behind the scenes all over the place, but you probably know her from the worship associates mostly.
Thank you, Mary Kay. And let's see, our second nominee for the Board of Trustees is Floyd Wickenkamp. Is Floyd here? There he is, folks. Floyd has been a long-time attendee of the Ben's Potluck and our Bridge Club.
And finally, the third nominee, I was trying to get Bob to do a drum roll, but he's not in position. Oh, here we go, drum roll. It's Melody Vaquero. She did 1 year filling in, and she's going to have a 3-year term now, hopefully.
All right. Our sponsors would like me to remind you that as you complete your ballots for the spring congregational votes, please make sure to also vote for our program council chair and the Board of Trustees candidates. A majority vote is required to make their dreams come true.
And we want to thank all the people that agreed to be nominated and the Board of Trustees, our sponsors.
Let me find my place here. All right. I'm here to announce the Share the Plate nominees. Over the last few months, members and friends nominated local nonprofit organizations that are doing the good work in our community. Once a year at our spring congregational meeting, we vote, and the 10 organizations receiving the most votes become our community partners for the upcoming church year. Each month, one of our community partners joins us at a Sunday service to tell about their good work and receive donations from our community. There's information about each of these organizations on the governance page of our church website. These are the 2023-2024 Share the Plate nominations in the order in which they were received. The Nebraska Religious Council for Reproductive Freedom, Planned Parenthood of Lincoln, the Malone Center, the NAACP Scholarship Fund, Out Nebraska, ACLU Nebraska, Black and Pink, Echo Collective, Southern Heights Food Forest, the Indian Center, Community Crops, Center for People in Need, Friends of Pioneer Park, I've Got a Name, the League of Women Voters Education Fund, Fresh Start Home for Women, Little Free Pantries for Women, skipping lines here, Little Free Pantries of Lincoln, Voices of Hope, Nebraskans Against Gun Violence, Girls Code Lincoln, and the Center for Legal Immigration Assistance. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Remember that the top 10 vote getters will be the ones that we choose for our church year.
So on the next slide, Heather does the video play. Okay. I made these slides, so they're imperfect. Bob's are good. Mine are not. So actually, these are the articles. This is the amendment to the Articles of Incorporation that were amended on December 2nd, 1951. So Melody, in her video that you're not going to see, actually says that's well before many of the people in this room were born. So there was no way that this language existed in the IRS 501c3 code at that point. But we're not changing the articles. We are adding these to the articles as written. And they are, the Unitarian Church of Lincoln, Nebraska is organized exclusively for charitable, religious, and educational purposes, including for such purposes the making of the distributions to organizations that qualify as exempt organizations described under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code, or corresponding section of any future federal tax code. That means that we can give the money to the Share the Plate recipients, right? So, and give to Lincoln eventually, not this year. Yeah, we'll be able to be a designated organization and give to Lincoln in the future. So the second addition is, upon dissolution of the organization, assets shall be distributed for one or more exempt purposes within the meaning of Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code or the corresponding section of any future tax code, or shall be distributed to the federal government over our dead body, or to a state or local government for public purposes. That really just reflects the language that's in our bylaws. If we were to dissolve this church, it's written in our bylaws. This just extends the IRS language. So does anybody have any questions about this? Yeah, hold on just a second.
So let me just make sure I got this correct. So we filled out at the end of last year all the forms we needed to get our 501c3 status, and we've been waiting to hear back from the IRS. And the IRS came back to us and said that we have to have this language in our articles in order for them to give us our status officially as a 501c3. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as the Articles of Incorporation say, we need 2/3 of the people voting to accept these amendments. If we don't have 2/3, that means our application for a 501c3 is denied and our Articles of Incorporation are not amended. So it's a simple addition, but we need your help to do it. Here's another question.
So my understanding was that we were a 501c3 based on older language because of our wonderful federal government changing ways. We have to add this language to continue being a 501c3. So we have never been a 501c3. So all of our taxes have been illegal for or donations for the last, I'm just joking on that one. But anyway, I'm confused on that one because we have a tax exempt number from the state, which is separate from the IRS. So we never got, of course, who knows where it would have been in the file from 50s, the official IRS letter that you're supposed to get. So.
Thanks, Harry. Good question. Churches, by their nature, are nonprofits, and they have a blanket 501c3 designation, but that resides with the UUA. Right? For us to get discounts on software through TechSoup, through Microsoft, through Google, and to get some of our staff to have their tuition what's the word? Forgiven, thank you. Yeah, I was stuck on reimbursed, and that ain't happening. But yeah, forgiven, we need this separate designation letter. Also, looking at Bob over there, to grow this idea of us as a culture center and to write for grants, we need our own designation letter, right? So it is, we've always been a nonprofit from the day we were formed, before 1951, right? So, but this only helps us enter the modern world. So, any other questions? And I hope that solves that conundrum. Any other questions? Melody said it better than I did, but here Chelsea has a question.
It's a comment. Please, it has been the biggest pain going through the student loan forgiveness stuff right now because we are not a 501c3. it has been the biggest headache, and there keeps being like drawbacks and loops and like hurdles to jump through. So for the few staff members who are trying to have public service loan forgiveness, we beg and plead to please vote for this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Okay, please. It will help significantly.
I'm going to say please vote eventually too. So, yeah, Oscar had to get a special letter from the UUA to begin his loan forgiveness plan last summer. So, because we didn't have ours yet, but his is in the works also. Any questions about that, or can we proceed? Thank you. Allison, do you want to come and talk about the eighth principle?
Thank you, Judy. Can you all hear me? No? Okay, I'll speak louder then. Can you hear me now? Okay, my name is Allison Starr. My pronouns are she and they, and if you're speaking to me in Spanish, ella. I am honored to serve as a current member of the Board of Trustees. This is my first year of this church, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. For those of you who don't know me, I feel like a lot of you do, but just in case you don't, my spiritual journey began here when I was teeny tiny, and I'm proud to have been raised UU by this community. And I have the honor of presenting the eighth principle for us to vote to adopt. So, as Sherry Woodbury says in our opening words, here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future. One important question we've heard over these past months as we have learned about the eighth principle is, what would it say about us if we didn't adopt it? And I think an equally important question is, what will it say about us if we do adopt it? The principles haven't been updated since before I was born. So my entire religious education in this place was guided by the 7 principles. As somebody who grew up shaped by the 7 principles, I can say that the 8th principle is necessary. It's a necessary addition, and it's a testament to the fact that Unitarian Universalism is a living tradition. I am excited to join the over 233 congregations that have already adopted the 8th principle, and to work together with all of you to uphold it. So now I will present the language of the 8th principle. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Thank you.
Bert's going to entertain us with a musical interlude as we... Oh, yeah. Does anybody have questions? Sorry. I saw Bert and I wanted to help him with his nerves. So does anybody have any questions about the 8th principle? We've dedicated the last 5 months to helping all of us understand it better. So.
Why is it taking us so long if it's been adopted since 2013?
2017. Actually, Paula Cole Jones brought it to the GA Assembly in 2017, right? And it's been evolving since then. So, of course, there's politics involved because there were multiple organizations trying to have the same language. So they had to decide which language to move forward. So why did it take us so long? Another question? No? Just, okay. Take it, Bert.
That was in his brain. He wasn't even using any music. Wow. That was amazing. My name is Chelsea Krafka, she, her, hers. I'm the Director of Religious Education. Staff report, so just a few highlights from the last year. You have it online, so you can read it. I'm just going to do a few highlights. We started a new curriculum for the first time. We followed Soul Matters themes and invited volunteers to have more freedom in leading their lesson plans, and fabulous folks like Shelley here used their creativity. It was a really wonderful decision, I think. I'm grateful for you and many others. Kim, oh my goodness, such great volunteers this last year. We did a first ever backpack blessing to ring in the new church and school year with keychains. I still have some in my office if you would like one. We contributed to a time capsule for the first time in nearly 20 years. We ambitiously have offered 3 classes, K1, 3, 5, and 7th through 9th grade OWL, which stands for Our Whole Lives Sexuality Education. We wanted to get caught up after not being in the building. We're highly encouraged not to do sex ed classes online, so we were not doing that over Zoom. We waited till we were back in the building and then went all in, and it was wonderful and total chaos at the same time. The total attendance for these courses combined was 28 children. So indeed, it was needed. So a huge thank you to our OWL leaders, Harry Hafer, Linda Ager, Kelsey Burke, Arden Hill, Leslie Ryan, and substitute Heidi Jo Bartlett. We also did our first UU Pen Pals since coming back, which paired adults and children together for the first time since 2019. The last year we paired children with other children, and they wrote letters to one another's homes. So we were back to doing adults paired with children in person. This program was also a great success with 27 participants. Professionally, I have attended many workshops, and most exciting for me is that I have written, analyzed, and edited 2 series of lesson plans from the Lifespan Faith Engagement Office and the UUA, one of which is a specifically targeted anti-racism curriculum. So I'm looking forward to using that in the future. Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to leave you with a quick story relayed that I just heard from my mother. She is also a director of education at a church in Massachusetts. She has a little boy around age 7 in her program. Let's call him Sam. He approached her one Sunday recently telling her, I'm so excited. I've decided what I'm going to do when I grow up. And Sam's dad tells my mother, yeah, he's been talking about it all week, and he said he's excited to share with Beryl from church that you'd understand, because what he wants to be when he grows up has to do with Sunday school. So my mom says, yes, Sam, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he said, well, I'm going to tell everybody to recycle so that we can save the planet. I'm going to become president. And I'm also going to tell everyone to not have war anymore. Oh, wow, my mom says. Those are certainly great ideas. I know we do indeed talk about a lot of that in our classes at church. Those things have to do with our UU values, don't they? Yes, he says, but the most important part about when I grow up is that I'm going to marry Oliver. Oh, that's sweet, my mom tells Sam, and looks at his parents with a loving, acknowledging look. They're doing a great job parenting him. Sam walks away. He goes to his class. My mom stands in the hallway with the parents, and Sam's dad says, do you know who Oliver is? My mom says, no, I don't think that we have Oliver in our program here. And Sam's dad tells her, Sam has been very adamant about marrying him, and we have no idea who Oliver is. And his teacher at school isn't sure either. We're happy for him. That's great. We'll accept him, whoever he wants to marry. But if it's so important to him, we're hoping to know who this kid is. So if you think about it and Oliver comes to mind, can you please let me know so we can offer a playtime at our house or something? Sure, my mom says, I'll think about a family that might have an Oliver in it. So Sam's parents headed back to the sanctuary to sit down. My mom goes about her Sunday duties, checking in on classrooms and volunteers. She turns a corner in the church to walk down a hallway when she pauses before a poster that is hanging in the Sunday school wing. As with many UU churches and Sunday school areas, there's inspiring words posted on the walls. This poster is brightly colored and has on it a quote from a prominent poet that some of you might well know, and some of you are catching on at this point. It states, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" A quote by none other than author and UU favorite, a woman by the name of Mary Oliver. Aha. We don't babysit kids here at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. We don't just watch them while you're in the sanctuary and keep them safe. We do that too, but they learn about our principles and our sources and our morals. And although there's plenty of stories and chalk and bubbles and playing on the playground, we most importantly tend to spirits. We grow values. We turn them into board members eventually. We play and we learn together. We're also recruiting right now for teachers and assistants for the coming church year. So please let me know if you're willing to help in some capacity. Thank you for the honor of entrusting me with our most precious promises for the future of Unitarian Universalism, our young people. Thank you. And I do have to excuse myself. My youngest is having a fever, so I'm going to duck out, but thanks.
Good morning, afternoon, whatever this is right now. Before I start, just a little technical thing for the people who get up here a lot. Think of this like a flashlight. If it's not pointed at your mouth, no one's going to hear you. You know, I used to fret about this report and go over it and write it and rewrite it and do that, and then after 6 or something weeks of band rehearsals and driving to Omaha in a rented van to get tents for last week and all this work, I emailed our guest minister and she said, "Oh, I didn't write anything, I'm just going to speak extemporaneously." So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it the same consideration as our UU professionals in ministry. How many of y'all came to the tent revival on Thursday? Yeah, a lot of people. That's my report. The look on Michelle's face when she was up there, the look on people's face in the audience, the joy I see from Julie when she's conducting a choir, when Bill and I share a laugh after something happens in a hymn, the people I've seen cry, the people I've seen laugh, the people I've seen clap, the people I've seen jump up and down at Third Thursday services, on Sundays. We've had way station concerts. I'm not going to list everything. If you want a list, email me. I'll give you a list of everything we've done. But my report is the feeling, the energy that we have in here. And if you were there Thursday, it was there exponentially. One of the things that I want to do with this time, however, is I don't get many emails that ask me, what's going on with the music program? Why are we doing this? Why do we do certain things? Can we do this? But what I do get back is gossip and rumor and things people say that have not come from me, they've not come from Julie, they've not come from anybody. So here's an opportunity to ask me any questions you like about the music program here at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. And I want to remind you, if you didn't hear it from me, or you didn't hear it from Julie, or you didn't hear it from Bill, or you didn't hear it from the minister, or Judy, or the board president, it's not true. So here's your opportunity. Anything you want to know, procedurally, speak now or forever hold your peace. So I look forward to a year of no more gossips and rumor and innuendos about the music program here at the church. And if you have something that you're concerned about that you won't call up all of your buddies, you'll email me because I can tell you the answer. So a couple things I do want to say about the future of the music program. Obviously, we're going to continue to do way station concerts. We're going to continue to do Antelope Park on August 18th. That'll be our first Third Thursday service when Oscar is back, so please come out for that. We have all kinds of plans for the groups here. We're going to get a new live mixing board for the band. We're working on stoles for the choir. We're working on merchandise for both to help support the music program. That's in its early stages. AV is working on a couple projects. One of them is getting room mics in this room so that when we sing hymns or the choir is singing, it can be better heard on the stream. So that is in progress. So those are just some of the things that we're working on. I especially want to thank Julie Anderson and Bill Carpenter for being my colleagues and cohorts and co-conspirators in this whole thing. I never have to worry about the choir. I never have to worry about the hymns on Sunday morning. That is such a load off. The hymns are always fantastic. The choir is always great. I always have my hands full with the band. But now that I do have this bully pulpit, so to speak, I do have a request to make. The average age of the A Street Band has got to be north of 60. I haven't done the math, but boy, we could really use that elevator. If that elevator showed up in the next year, we'd be tickled. Because in addition to the folks in the band who are aging like fine wine, very gracefully, we carry a lot of heavy stuff up and down the stairs on a regular third Thursday, not even counting the tent revival, which had a lot of other stuff to carry around, which is why I'm a little still recovering. So that's my request while I've got the microphone is, if the powers that be in this room could see fit to maybe just give us a timetable on when that elevator to the downstairs might show up, that'd be fantastic. Last call for questions. Anything you want to say about the, yes?
There was a bequest some years ago of $20,000 to support the music program. Was any part of that ever used, and what was it used for?
That is a great question. Yes, there was $20,000 bequeathed from Judy Cole. We lovingly call them the Cole Funds. When I was hired here, I went to Luff and pried that money out from them. They did not want to give it up, but I took it anyway. We have used it. We bought a drum set. We've used it to support the cultural center items at the church. We use it to buy a synthesizer for the church. Most of it, though, is still there because we're waiting on the new sanctuary to happen in a couple years to see what our equipment needs might be for that. That's where the Stoll money will be coming from for the choir. That's where the live mixing board money will also come from. So it has been used, but most of it is still there. I think more than $12,000 of it is still there.
Michelle, hold on. Terry and then you.
I'm going to, that wasn't part of my, well, I'm going to tag on to that. So I'd like to also maybe encourage thought whether it would come from that fund for that confidence monitor or something that's up there. So when you're on the stage, you can see what's going out through the video as well as playing through the computer. But my question was going to be, crap. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Can you answer that one?
As far as the confidence monitor?
Is that it? Yeah.
The confidence monitor is more of an AV thing, and I like to keep those lines separate. My my suggestion for years has been to go to Michael's and get a big mirror and put it right there, but everyone does not like that idea. So, but yes, we got money for confidence monitors. We'll find it.
My question is there ever going to be a collaboration between A Street and the choir?
Yes. Yes, there will be. We're in talks to do it this spring. I actually have a couple ideas too for Antelope Park. As always, it's a scheduling thing. Especially, we had a kind of a weird thing this year because we had 2 third Thursday services back to back, which doesn't typically happen. The tent revival, which we do every year, and then we could not pass up the opportunity to do a 420 service. So we did those 2 back to back. That kind of put a crunch on things, but Julie and I have talked about it, just hasn't gotten up off the ground yet.
Where are the Wayside Station concerts advertised?
They're advertised in the e-blast, they're advertised on the social group, and they're advertised in a couple different things. Jean would have a better newsletter.
Not outside the church, like flyers at Meadowlark Coffee Shop? Or
I have volunteers that are helping me. We have not gotten that kind of support. And I have to draw a pretty firm boundary right now with the amount of things that I'm doing around here. And PR for those concerts is not one of those things I have time to handle.
Many of the musicians that come have their own mailing lists, and they let people know also that they're coming.
It's my turn to beg. This is Jean, if you're on the live stream. If you are interested in marketing and getting the word out outside of our church, please talk to me about joining the newly formed visibility team. I don't know what the name of it will be, but a communications team is being built. We're in discussion now. I do it by myself right now. That's why we are not doing outside event announcing, promotion.
Those kind of things, it's one of those, either we need someone to volunteer to do it, or we got to pay somebody to do it. So it's got to come from somewhere. We just haven't found it quite yet.
So the bubble popped and reminded me what I was going to say. Which relates to this too, the promotion, because I do see, and I don't obviously whether it takes writing a press release or just a quick email, the same thing we send out on our social media stuff to the newspaper, because Friday still has that kind of event type section, and you see other concerts that other churches mentioned in there maybe, and that reach out to that kind of quick email or something, whether that would include get picked up or not, I don't know.
That's a great idea. And again, it's something that we really need volunteers to help handle.
One more question here.
Kind of exciting to see all this discussion about the music program. Maybe we should have had it during the town hall. Maybe that might be something to think about in the future. I'm really excited about the passage of the 8th principle. Have you given thought to how, I mean, that will impact all of what we do in every aspect of our work. If we do it right, we'll be a changed church. Have you given any thought to how that might impact our music program? I just tell you, this is not the way to have that discussion, but I was sitting listening to some of our beautiful, I think it was the harpist or music on Sunday, and we have this wonderful program. Is that a way that we can use the resources of this church to support an anti-racist? I mean, I don't know. Just have you thought to it?
No, that's a great question. To answer the original question, how will the 8th principle affect what we're doing in the music program? No, but let me explain. We have been operating under that principle from the beginning, since I got hired. In fact, all musicians from way back. Right? And I've said this at services before. The great integration story of America's baseball, jazz was integrated 20 years before that. We've been doing that work continuously. So we're excited to join the rest of you in doing that work. So, yeah, we are doing those things.
Okay, I think that's it, Bob. Oh, wait, there's a
Sorry, I was
message
getting the high
coming
sign
from
from-
AV.
Never mind.
Is it batteries for the... It's this one.
Yes, all right. Number 2 needs batteries. Okay, before I leave you all, any last thoughts or comments or questions? Allison, over here.
This is just a plug to work with Bob if you're doing a service, because the young adult service that we did was amazing, because Bob had come up with this idea that we were going to have all these musical interludes, and he's lovely to work with. So I encourage everybody to work with Bob.
Thank you, thank you. Well, we had a blast at the tent revival. I think there are about 40 or 50 people. We would love to double that, because the more people that show up, the more I can strong arm their leadership here for cool things to do. All righty, thank you very much.
It's my turn. Don't you love it how I'm at the end? So I'll try to be exciting so that you'll stay awake. So, good morning. I'm Karen Hafer, the outgoing program council chair. And this is my final report after gladly serving as program council chair the last 3 years, and I'll try to do this without tearing up. It has been a joy and privilege working with individuals who are true leaders and who believe in the importance of the day-to-day workings and programming of our church. I decided to begin, as I began 3 years ago, by sharing the quote from Henry David Thoreau, with which I began my first congregational report. It is not enough to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? That's what I have the privilege of sharing with you today. First, I wish to focus on what you see on the screen. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one either. That one. There you go. An article in the recent UU World describes a mosaic as a thing of beauty, a complex piece of art created by assembling pieces of many different sources, shapes, and colors. It echoes our Unitarian Universalist living tradition, a work of art, always in progress, made by many hands. That's how I see our organizational chart. It has many pieces that are all different and represent work that is always in progress and done by many hands. The portion that I have the honor to share with you today is the work done by 6 clusters and led by great cluster leaders and liaisons. This year I had the pleasure of working with the following leaders who I hope, if you're here, will stand, because you certainly deserve a hand. Emily Kazak, Youth Programs Cluster. Unfortunately, Emily had to resign in February, and her position had to be taken up by 3 people because of the work. Who are Vicki Treat-Huber, Abby Lenberg McDowell, and Jacob Legier. Barbara Pearson, Facilities Cluster. Patty Cuevas, Outreach Cluster. She's out of town. Marcia Cedardahl, Adult Programs Cluster. Kathy Disney, Congregation Cluster, and Jamie Radcliffe, Sunday Service Cluster. Please give these folks a hand. Today, I'm the voice of these 6 cluster leaders and the members and leaders of the committees and task force groups of each of the clusters reporting the accomplishments of this past church year. There is a complete program council report as part of the end-of-year thing, and which will, from each committee, found under the respective cluster found on the church website. This year, one of the liaisons, I won't name names, but she's sitting over there, that we should be more loud and proud of our accomplishments. So this is my way of being loud and proud about some of the accomplishments of the 2022-2023 Program Council. Conducted an evaluation of the Program Council is required by the bylaws. As a result of the evaluation, the following plans were implemented. Continued the newsletter article, developed cluster connections, a way for cluster liaisons during a church service to explain their cluster and how it works related to the church's mission and vision. Continue to educate the congregation about the organizational chart. Approved the placement of a little free pantry on church property. Prepared the 2023 budget request to submit to the finance team. Participated in the pledge kickoff event. Completed in celebration of the 150th anniversary and pandemic time capsule. Supported and stayed informed about the Justice in Action activities. Approved the purchase of 2 outdoor benches. Began discussion on replacement of gas furnaces, and memorial tablecloth cabinet was built, delivered, and filled. These are just a few of the work of the council, and be sure to check out the complete report. And just so you're aware, each committee sends to their cluster leader a report each month, and those are compiled and given and sent to the board members, so they are aware of all the things that are going on. I know that there's not a report at this meeting from the foundation, but on behalf of the Program Council, I need to give a big thank you to them. If it weren't for the anniversary funds of the foundation, which are donated by church members, we would not have okay, Heather, I go backward to the 2 ones before that. Oh, no, sorry. There, stop there, okay. We wouldn't have the time capsule or the tablecloth cabinet. So if you get a card from Trey Lust celebrating the anniversary of your membership and asking you to make a donation to this fund, please do so. Not only has it made it possible for the council to complete projects, but it's also the fund ones in the future, such as the outdoor benches and a memorial garden project. Before I close, just a reminder that the program council meets every month except July. We take July off. And a list of committees and their contact people can be found on the front hall bulletin board or on the website. Speaking of being loud and proud, I want Julie Anderson and Barbara Pearson to join me. Now I should take a turnaround because this is a different hat. We would like to take this time to celebrate the success of another church auction, as it appears that we have exceeded our $10,000 goal. And as of Friday, thank you, Jean, we have $11,335. This was made possible by 142 items, which were donated for bidding from 33 individuals and 7 committees, and as a result of 62 bidders who showed up in front of their computers or their phones and made that winning bid. Thanks to all of you. We want to also thank Penny Erweiler for contacting Tasty Treaters and Jean and Levon Hanlon. If you need gift cards to get from people, get Levon. She was amazing. To manage to get over 100 gift cards for our raffle, along with 2 items for the auction. We want you to know that we are planning a week-long auction, November 12th through November 19th. So please be thinking of a meal, handmade item, or baked good you would like to donate. More information obviously will be coming through. It will give you a second chance to donate and a second chance to bid. So the theme is second chance. So, I'd like to close with words from the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, our outgoing UU Association president, from her article in the recent UU World. She was writing about Danan's Perry's The Parable of the Trapeze. When the trapeze artist lets go, they do not free fall. There is momentum carrying them as it carries us all. Our values, our history and ancestors, our spiritual imagination, or the beloved community, these give us momentum and draw us forward always. And as a covenanted spiritual community, none of us are swinging alone. We belong to each other and are a source of strength and courage of the journey. So thanks for swinging with me these last 3 years.
Hi, I'm Meg Maring. Okay, that was a test. All right, better? No? How's this? Okay. Julie and I have the honor of presenting the Unsung Unitarian Award. We are thrilled. This award has been presented annually by the Board of Trustees since 1978. That's 45 years, folks. The award recognizes and affirms a member who works tirelessly behind the scenes and is a member we can always count on and is always willing to assist. The board this year received great submissions, and all of these nominees deserve the award. Hard choice. This award comes with a designated parking spot for a year, so we had to narrow our selection down to one person. Now I'm going to read from the nomination form, and I think within maybe one sentence you'll know who it is. This person is a dazzler. A group of volunteer officer workers. She has staffed and continues to staff the church bookstore for many years, sorting, pricing, and displaying books for purchase. She is the guardian and dedicated water bearer for the church fig tree in our gallery space. In addition, she cares for the columbarium. Located on the church grounds, she scrubs down the columbarium several times a year. She is the woman in the office window on Sunday mornings, answering questions, overseeing activities,
problem solving, and directing traffic, as well as cleaning off the office window accumulation of fingerprints several times a month. She was born into Unitarian Universalism as both her parents were members of this church, even when the Unitarian Church building was located downtown. She herself joined signing the book in 1972. She is a friend to all and a good neighbor who bakes cookies for Little Free Pantry and gives rides to people to pick up fresh food at the food bank distribution side. Okay, now we need a drum roll. Our unsung Unitarian for 2023 is Denise Dickinson.
You have done marvelous, you have done marvelous things. Praise to you. You have done marvelous, you have done marvelous things. Praise to you. Keep going. You have done marvelous, you have done marvelous things. Praise to you. One last time. You have done marvelous, you have done marvelous things. Praise to you. Yay.
Say there's an official one coming.
Denise, there is a paper certificate to give to you, but unfortunately right now we don't have it, but we have this piece of paper.
Yeah. We're going long, so I'm just going to say that instead of giving you the president's report, you can go online and read it, right? It's been a joy being a, I am going to find one piece of paper here. It's been a joy to be the leader of the board this year. If you don't know it, I'm a process chaos maker, and I thank the board for actually living in that creative disequilibrium that we created this year to talk about possibility. So we really have been taking it apart and saying, this is what we got now, and how are we going to live with it? I do want to read this number, though. As you heard earlier from Peg, we currently have 254 voting members in our church. Over the last 3 years, we've only been averaging about 100 people voting at any congregational meeting. If you heard that only 39% of eligible voters took the time to vote in any election, you would shake your head and wonder what this world was coming to, right? That's the situation we're in. There's a lot of head shaking going on, and only 39% of our membership is fully engaged in the democratic process of this church. I need your help. If you have friends from this church whom you haven't seen for a while, will you please call them up or send them an email and ask them to vote in this election? Please remind them that they're important to this faith community and we miss them. That's what friends can do. So hopefully in next Friday's e-blast, when we give you the results of the voting, we can say that more than 50% of our congregation voted, or maybe even 60%. And we can do this with your help. So in my written report, you'll see some of the highlights from the year. I really was talking about the culture change that's happening in this church, not just the business of this church. As we climbed out of our isolation from the pandemic, we're trying to figure out who we are together. So we are a strong faith community, and to have a future, we need to be re-engaged. So, and it means it's not just the board's work, it's not just the program council's work, it's not the staff's work, it's that same question about how do we market what we do here. Everybody can participate in that. If you see a job and you say, oh man, why isn't somebody doing this? What do you think you can do? help, right? Show up, right? Get involved. That's what the 3 people who found Black Lives Matter, they said, what's the best wisdom you have? And they said, join something, right? And we need to rejoin our church. So pass it on, everybody. You have one more chance to come to a board forum discussion. That's Wednesday night. It's in here, right? Because there's a graduation going on with Blue Stem. So we'll have our forum in this room on Wednesday night. We're talking about covenant, and we're also talking about what is our action plan to bring forth all of the information that we've had at forums since January. Say thank you to everybody who's done the work of this church. From the kitchen crew, not an applause. I want you to walk up to them and look them in the eye and say thank you. Yeah, give them a flower and say thank you. I recognize that you're working your ass off, right? And that really matters to me. So let's see, what else was I going to say? I want to celebrate everybody, give gratitude, and I think that's enough from me. So, Kim, do you want to take us out?
All right. Our closing words today. If I can get this. There we go. Our closing words today are from Emily Richards. Our work here today is at an end, and our work has just begun. The work of holding one another and this community in love. The work of trusting that we are on the right path. The work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. The work of engaging in that which makes us whole. The work of deeper understanding and commitment. The work of letting go of that which does not serve us. The work of radical inclusion. The work of collective liberation. The work of this beloved community, a beloved community of which we are all a part, a place that we are welcomed, respected, valued, and cherished, a place where we belong. Go in peace, amen, and blessed be. Please remember to vote, and on your way out, please give someone a flower from our wonderful flower celebration service. And if you have coffee cups, take them to the kitchen. Thank you.
That went so much longer than I had expected. So, probably have a teenager out there waiting for me. Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured people needed to go. Well done, Karen.